Hello, welcome to another edition of Transform Your Life. And I got to say, I'm really excited to be talking about this topic today. It's something that has thrilled me ever since I recently heard about it. And ever since then, all I've wanted to do is share it with everyone. So this topic today is you can rewire your brain for happiness. And if that sounds too simplistic, too good to be true, I encourage you to keep listening because this is all new information that has lots and lots of research in back of it that proves it. And I think after you hear it explained and how it works, I think you'll understand and be able to see why this is really true. So I'm going to start with, have you ever, but first a little bit of housekeeping. If you see me look down once in a while, it's because I have so much information to give you in a short amount of time. I want to make sure I get it all in. So I might be looking at my notes once in a while. So let's begin with the question. Have you ever wondered why it is that it's so hard to stop a bad habit? I know for myself, as a licensed psychotherapist for over 30 years, but also mostly as a fellow human being, I've wondered about that question. Why is it so hard to stop or unlearn bad habits? So the thing is, many, many years ago, I became very interested in habits. And so I did a lot of research and a lot of reading about it. And I thought I knew everything there is to know about habits and how to best deal with them and work with them as well as around them. I thought I knew everything until recently when I found out this new bit of information. But this new bit of information blew me out of the water and excited me so much. That's why I want to talk about it today. So let's talk about bad habits and what they actually are. Most of us have read something or heard something about the neural networks in our brains. You've probably heard maybe a statement about neurons that fire together, wire together. This simply means that the neural connections, the little neurons in our brain that formulate the chains that go from our nerves in the connections in our brain to our nerves that create all through our body to go to our muscles and every aspect to make our bodies function. These nerves, if they get activated repeatedly over time, what happens is that they actually recruit other neurons around them, other nerve fibers, to help strengthen them. And over time, they'll become stronger and stronger and stronger until you've actually, without you even knowing, have wired your brain to develop what's called a habit. Well, habits turn out to be a good thing. We are an accumulation of habits, thousands of habits that we do every day. And our brain is remarkable that has developed over the millennia habits so that we can do things without having to relearn them. We learn them once, and if we keep repeating them, these neural networks develop, and so that over time it becomes a habit and we don't have to think about it anymore. It's automatic. Therefore, our brain is free to think about other things and do other things. So it's really miraculous. And It's in our favor most of the time if we have habits that are productive for us. Here's an example, brushing our teeth. In the beginning, that was hard fought to learn. We learned as a youngster, but we had to concentrate on it. Well, over time, we did it repeatedly every day. So over time, these nerve fibers started to wire together and became thicker and thicker, and it actually developed into a habit. Fantastic, right? Well, unfortunately, the same is true for the habits that we knowingly or unknowingly most of the time develop that turn out to be bad habits for us. For example, a perfect stereotypic example, biting our nails, okay? We've done it so often that those nerves have wired and fired together and created this strong chain so that we're not even thinking about it, we're not even aware of it anymore, but we do it. And then we wonder why it's so hard to eradicate. It's because it's been developed. These chains have been developing over time for a long period. So far, this information that I've been giving you might not be especially new, but stay with me because this next part is the new part, and the next part is the most exciting part of all. It turns out that the same process we develop for developing habits of action, doing things, that same process happens when we are developing habits of thinking things, okay? So if we are repeatedly, let's say, if we are repeatedly thinking negative, pessimistic thoughts or thoughts of worry, that gets linked over time. That gets developed. Those neurons go to work recruiting other neurons because it's happening all the time, every day. If that's the case, it'll keep developing to be a stronger and stronger chain. And before we know it, we've developed a habit of thinking negative thoughts, of thinking pessimistically, or thinking thoughts of worry all the time. Obviously, not good. The ramification it has on our physical health in terms of setting us up for immune disorders, autoimmune disease, certain form of cancers are more easily developed if we constantly are in state of worry, stress, thinking negatively. So, obviously, aside from the physiological effects, the result psychologically is depression, anxiety. Yeah, a whole list of things. So that's the bad news, but here's the good news. The exact same thing happens if you think more positively, more optimistically over time. If you make it a point to do this, your neurons will do the exact same process of recruiting other neurons over time if you make this consistent. And over time, bit by bit, if you are consistent, you will develop a habit more and more of thinking optimistically, thinking thoughts that are positive. And it's amazing the transformation. I'm sure some of you have met, as I have, once in a while, the rare form of a person who comes into your life and they are just happy all the time. And what's happened is they knowingly or unknowingly have been thinking more thoughts that are positive or thoughts of gratitude than thoughts that are negative. And over time, they have developed a habit of thinking positively and therefore feeling more positively. And we like to be around that kind of person, right? It lifts us up. It's motivating. It's inspiring. Well, it turns out we can do the same thing because it's the same principle of utilizing our neurons in our brain to develop these habits of thinking. Now, please know I'm not talking about being a Pollyanna. I'm not talking about eradicating thoughts of stress or worry altogether. No, there are appropriate times for us to have thinking thoughts of stress or worry. We're not looking to erase them. Our brain, fortunately, the primitive part of our brain will always protect us in terms of watching out for us. That's how we have survived over the years, and that's why we're still a living Homo sapien on the planet, is because we have this built-in tendency to always be on the lookout for danger. So that's not going to go away. What we're looking for, though, is to balance it. And if you have a tendency to be a more pessimistic person and always seeing the glass half empty, or maybe thinking negatively, always worrying about things and stressing out over things, you know that it sets you up for not feeling a whole lot of joy in your life. And it also sets you up physiologically to be more prone to illnesses as well. What we're looking for is to balance out, to just get to that tipping point where we are thinking more positive, affirming thoughts, maybe more thoughts of gratitude, and implementing more of those thoughts into our daily life. And by doing that, if you're consistent, it works. It will develop this chain where your neurons will get used to that, and they'll recruit other neurons to do the same thing and form these strong chains. And before you know it, you will become a happier person. It's incredible, but it's all the same mechanism. And I think that's some of the most exciting news I've heard in a very long time. So let me tell you about this. I'm a psychotherapist, as I said, of over 30 years. And what I did was I chose to follow the field of positive psychology. This is a field that started way back in the late 80s, early 90s by a psychologist, Dr. Martin Seligman, who had this brilliant idea to study this question. What is it that makes people happy? And he went to work and developed an entire department at the University of Pennsylvania to study this exact question and find out what is it that makes people happy and feel fulfilled? What is it that makes people flourish? And when I heard about it, I started studying that right away. And what's happened is that whole field of research now, decades later, all the research is coming out now, and this is what we have. This is the research that's come from that field of study. What is it that makes us happy, and how can we find more of that in our lives or develop more of that? So I think personally this is such exciting news that it should be on the front page of every paper. People should be talking about it all the time and thinking about it all the time. I'm hoping this is as exciting for you to hear about as it was for me. I encourage you to read about it, research about it. If you need further resources, please feel free to get a hold of me via my website. I'm easy to find online. I'd be happy to share with you resources. And I'm hoping that you take this information from this moment forward, think about it, and start making some changes in your own life in implementing, recruiting more positive thoughts into your life, recruiting more moments of joy and gratitude. Because if you start to do this on a continuous basis and you start to implement developing a habit of positivity and optimism, you're going to be amazed in the difference. It's going to open you up to a whole new level of joy and fulfillment than you've ever imagined. And that's your birthright. It's all of ours birthright to live a joyous life, a life of happiness and fulfillment. That's what I wish for you. I'll see you next time.